would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that?
Hi, for everyone joining us, we're just going to give it a minute or two. We have people entering the room right now, so we'll just give it a moment and then we'll get started. Thank you. All right. Well, it actually looks like attendance has leveled out, so that was pretty quick. Want to thank everyone for joining us today. Just wanted to go over a couple things. Number one, I wanted to say good morning to everyone who's joining us live. I know a lot of people can't always fit this into their schedules, with school schedules being very different in every single school that we serve here in York County. So if you are here live, thank you and good morning. For those of you joining us at a later date, watching this on demand, welcome as well. So just to kind of tee up what today is going to be all about, today is all about career exploration. So, you know, why do we explore careers? Well, hopefully by the end of the end of the session today, you'll have one of three outcomes. Probably one of three things will happen. You'll either say, yes, you know, I'm still interested in culinary, I'm on the right track. You might say, you know, I think I'm on the right track, but I still need some more information before I can make a decision as I'm leaving high school. Or you might say, you know what, I just realized after today, this isn't for me, and I think I want to look at something different. And I'm here to say all three of those things are okay. So, you know, today could help steer you in this direction, or it could steer you away from it, and that's all right. You know, we want you to find something that you're going to be happy with in your career after you get out of high school. So why do we do these things? Why do we explore careers? Why do we want you to look at all of your options and feel like you're making a good decision? Well, if someone does decide to go to college, average college student is going to change majors 3 times. 80% of the college students are going to change majors at least once. And the cost of tuition, the cost of the cost of attending college, that's your room and board, your books, your tuition, it's just under $29,000 in Pennsylvania. That was last year's numbers. So if you end up changing majors, a lot of times it means you have to stay at school a little bit longer. That's more money spent, and it delays you getting out and starting your earning in your career. So what we want you to do is try to use these opportunities, ask questions, and we'll hopefully get some answers, and explore now and just see what's out there and see what's possible. So we have about 30 of these programs this year. We have a lot of great hosts that have lined up that are willing to take the time out of their schedule to speak with you and to help you explore these careers. So certainly feel free, through your school, you have access to all these programs. Some have in the red have already occurred, and you can watch the videos at any time you want. You just go and register. And some are coming up now through the end of April. So I certainly recommend you check those out if you're not quite sure what you want to do. Before we get started, and I'll be quiet in just a moment, just a couple housekeeping items. Again, thank you so much to the people at YTI for putting this together. Appreciate everyone who's involved. And I know you're looking forward to hearing from them and having me be quiet. But if you have any questions, there is at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A function. Please ask those questions at any time. I'll be monitoring them throughout the time. We may not get to them immediately. I'm not going to stop someone in the middle of a sentence, but we will get to those questions, and we'll answer them in some way at some point throughout the session. You don't have to wait till the very end or anything to ask them. Just ask them as we go along. Please, if you could, don't use the chat function for questions, just because I may miss something. I don't want to miss someone's question. So the chat function, we may just throw some links in there if there's any resources or anything that we want to share. So please use that Q&A button for any questions that you might have. As a reminder, I know some of you have, again, different class schedules. So if you have to leave in the middle for any reason, or you have to move to a different classroom, you can click that same link that you were sent when you registered for this, and you can get right back in and hop into where you left off and watch the rest of it on video if you have to. So, all right. All that said, I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to go on mute, and I'm going to turn it over to our host. So take it away, Jessie. Thanks.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right. And thank you for taking some time out of your day today to join us here at YTI. You can see in the background there, I've got a couple of my instructors, Chef Joe Renfro and Chef Nicole Marchetti in the top, in that picture there with the two instructors. Those are two of my culinary instructors here at YTI. And we also have Chef Daria Astorino down here in the bottom. She is our one of our pastry instructors joining us. So each of our instructors today are going to do a little demo for you. We've got a little bit of conversation about our experiences in the restaurant industry, in the restaurant world, both from the culinary and the pastry sides of things. So just a little bit about our programs here at YTI. We have two programs, Culinary Arts and Restaurant Management Program, which is a 21-month associate's degree program. You're here on campus 2 days a week, and then the other 2 days a week you are online. So with the pandemic, we've moved to more of the blended learning kind of setting. So we've got all of your lecture classes, all of the didactic portions of your classes are going to be online. You have due dates set for your different assignments, but you're able to do your work at any time during the week, whenever you're able to do it. So you have that flexibility to be able to go in and do the classwork on your time. And then you have 2 days a week that you're set for your hands-on portion. So you're in school and you're learning from the chefs right here in a hands-on setting. So our pastry program is 12 months. Same thing, we're blended program with the pastry program. So your didactics are online, all of your lecture portions are online. And then with pastry, you're here 3 to 4 days a week. There's a lot more hands-on components with the pastry program. And since it's such a short time, you have a lot more time that you're here on campus. So those are a little bit about our programs here. The next program starts April 20th. I know that you guys with high school and stuff, a lot of times our high school students will join, will start either in July or October. But those are, we start every 12 weeks with classes here. So, all right, so I have a quick little video here that I want to share with you. See if it's going to play. All right, should play for you here. Sorry, there we go.
Jesse, we're not hearing any sound coming through. I'm not sure if
All right,
you're hearing
sorry.
that on your side. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Hang on. There we go.
And if you'll notice, I'm not asking what are you going to do, but who are you going to be? I'm asking you about how you plan to live your life every day. How are you going to respond when you don't get that job you had your heart set on? For all of you who are going to be teachers, what are you going to do if the students in your class next year just don't respond to your lessons? For all of you going into business, how will you react when your boss gives you a goal that feels way too high? See, these are the moments that define us, not the day you get the promotion, not the day you win Teacher of the Year, but the times that force you to claw and scratch and fight just to get through the day. The moments when you get knocked down and you're wondering whether it's even worth it to get back up. See, those are the times when you've got to ask yourself, who am I going to be? And I want to be clear, this isn't just some vague platitude about building character. In recent years, we've actually been seeing a growing body of research that shows that skills like resilience and conscientiousness can be just as important to your success as your test scores or even your IQ. For instance, West Point cadets who scored high on things like grit and determination were more likely to complete basic training than those who ranked high on things like class rank, SAT scores, and physical fitness. So what we're seeing is that if you're willing to dig deep, if you're willing to pick yourself up when you fall, if you're willing to work and work until your weaknesses become your strengths, then you'll develop a set of skills that you can mold and apply to any situation you encounter, any job you might have, any crisis you might confront. But you got to make that choice. And let me just share just a little secret before I end. As someone who has hired and managed hundreds of young people over the course of my career, whether it was during my time as a lawyer, as an administrator, as a university, a nonprofit manager, even now as First Lady, I have never once asked someone I was interviewing to explain a test score or a grade in a class. Never. I have never once made a hire just because someone went to an Ivy League school instead of a state school. Never. What I have looked for is what kind of person you are. Are you a hard worker? Are you reliable? Are you open to other viewpoints? Have you stepped outside of your own self-interest to serve others? Have you found a way to serve our country, whether in uniform or in your community? Again and again, I have seen that those are the qualities that I want on my team, because those are the qualities that move our businesses and schools and our entire country forward. And just understand this. Those are the qualities that you all already embody. They're the values you learned from your parents, from the communities you grew up in. And today, more than ever before, that's what the world needs.
So I wanted to share that video with you all because I feel like it's very inspiring video. That it's not necessarily about going to an Ivy League school. It's not necessarily about, if it's a prestigious school. Trade schools are a great option for any career that you're looking for. So it's all about what you're learning and how the kind of person that you are. So I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you guys again for joining us today. I have just a quick schedule for you today and the things that we're going to talk a little bit about. I have a couple of demonstrations that we're going to do in here, a couple different from my instructors here. And then at the very end, I have I just have it open for a few minutes if you have any questions. But as Kevin had said before, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat, and Kevin can interject at any point and ask questions along the way. So. All right, so where do we start in the restaurant and pastry industries? A lot of what we're doing in this industry, a lot of people start at the bottom. You're starting in somewhere as a restaurant chef, starting as a prep cook, starting at a dishwasher, a server, bartender, bakery helpers, lots of different areas that we can start out in and work our way up through the ranks. All of my instructors have all started out at the bottom. We all start out doing all of the prep work and doing the dishes and sweeping the floors and taking out the trash. So working our way up through the industry. A lot of times what we think about when we are looking at the restaurant industry, we think about the front of house managers, we think about the executive chefs, we think about the beverage managers, the sommeliers. We think about owning our own place, having our own kitchens. A lot of my students that come here to school, that's their goal, is to have their own restaurant, have their own sports bar, have their own cupcake shop, have their own bread shop. So lots of different ways, lots of different avenues in this industry. This industry works late nights. We work early mornings in the pastry side, very early mornings, sometimes a 4 or 3 a.m. start time. Restaurants, late nights, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning when we're getting done. We spend a lot of time with our work families. Sometimes we end up spending more time with our work family than we do with our own families, and it's part and parcel for the job. But we work hard and we play hard. We have a lot of fun with what we do, and everyone is very passionate about this industry. I've always said to my students, and I always said it to any of my employees, that this industry is one that you will either love or hate. There's not really an in-between there. So if you really have the passion for it, you're going to thrive in it. You're going to enjoy it. It's not going to feel like work. So professionalism, even though we're having fun and we're really enjoying this and we're passionate about what we do, there's a high expectation of professionalism. So I want to give you a little introduction to Chef Nicole Marchetti. She's been in the industry for probably most of her life, and starting out very young, making toast in a restaurant as 14, 13, 10 years old, starting out making toast in restaurants. And most recently, a few years ago, before she came to us here at YTI, she was actually on the show Chopped on Food Network, and she actually won her episode. So I'm going to have Chef Nicole talk a little bit more about professionalism in the industry, and she's going to also do a demonstration on on knife cuts while she's talking.
Nicole, I think you're, oh, there you go.
Yeah, we're good. Hello, everybody. My name is Chef Nicole Marchetti. Today, I'm going to show you guys some knife cuts. We're going to talk about some professionalism in the kitchen. And I'm also going to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of fun things that happen on Chopped and everything. So what I'm going to start with here is obviously what I have on my cutting board. So excuse me, I'm just going to pull this down real quick, and I'm going to talk to you about the knife cuts that I have. So right down here, we have a tournée. So this is a 7-sided football shape, and I'm going to show you guys how to do those. Right here is a julienne. So this is an 1/8 by 1/8 by 2 inches. And then right here is a brunoise. A brunoise is an 1/8 by 1/8 by 1/8, and it's just a cute little square cut of a carrot. So I'm going to start doing these, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about professionalism. So I'm going to piggyback off of what Chef Tuna was talking about with professionalism, and specifically professionalism and the ingredients that are sitting in front of me. Now, you guys might think that it's kind of funny that I'm talking about professionalism and literally carrots, but there's something to say about professionalism in the food that you're working with. To be professional means you have to be professional with everything that's around you, and that's including the food that you're working with. You have to respect your ingredients. Piggybacking off of the respect for your ingredients, you have to have respect for what Chef Tuna was talking about, which is respect for your head chef, your managers, your fellow employees. That's another big one. Okay. Yeah, keep going. Professionalism isn't just walking in every day with a clean chef jacket and clean pants. Professionalism is how you treat people, how you treat your ingredients, how you treat your equipment, how you treat mostly everything else around you. It's not just a single thing about looking a certain way. So to explain what I'm doing now is, so I squared off this carrot. Okay, that means I took all the sides and I made them nice and straight. Okay, I made them nice and straight by basically taking my knife, putting my tip down, and then cutting through. Okay, the straightest cut you're ever gonna get is the cut where the tip of your knife is down and then you just rock your knife down. All right, so that's what I did with these guys right here. All right, so I'm gonna line them up, and because I like straight cuts, I'm not gonna do more than 2 pieces at a time. All right, and then I'm gonna point my knife down and rock my knife. Point my knife down, rock my knife. Point my knife down and rock my knife, and all the way down the carrot. All right, and that's how you get a julienne. Pretty simple. From this julienne, we are going to get a brunoise. Also, because I like straight cuts, I'm only going to take a couple of them, and I'm just going to rock my knife down the julienne. Okay, and that will give you brunoise. Pretty little square brunoise. You can use them as a garnish in a consomme. You can use them in salads, whatever you have to. So what Chef Tuno graciously introduced me with was also a spot on the Food Network TV show Chopped that I did. It was a very, very long day. It started very early in the morning, and we also didn't get done until about 10 o'clock at night. So I started at 6:30, got done at 10. When they say you only have 30 minutes to do stuff, you really only have 30 minutes to do stuff. It was crazy. But it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about how I work, and showed me things about myself that I actually thought I'd never see before. So this right here, it also took a lot of strength to watch myself on TV. So what I did here, this is a potato, and I'm gonna make this little football shape thing that rolls around in my hand, a tournée, out of this guy. Okay, so what I did is I squared off my edges here, all right, using my lovely tip down and rock method. All right, now I'm just gonna kind of square off my sides here. Okay, tip down, rock, tip down, rock, tip down, rock. All right, and then I get this funky little looking potato, right? It doesn't look like much, but we're gonna make it into something. All right, so I'm gonna hold it. Pray I don't cut myself, but I'm gonna hold it. And we're gonna kind of go out and in. Oh, this is a funky potato. Let's look at the other one. That's the other beautiful thing about culinary and ingredients, is that you never know what you're gonna get until you cut it open. But that potato was meant for something better than tournées. That's all that means. Okay, so now I have this lovely looking potato. All right, so now we're gonna out and in. Out and in. Out and in. At one point in time here, I'm gonna flip it to get a little bit of a better side. Out and in. That could have been better. Out and in. All right, so the goal here is to make 7 sides for this potato, right? And the potato should be in a football shape. Every once in a while, you want to turn it so you get nice equal sides, and also so you get 2 nice little tips on it. All right, so going back to professionalism in the kitchen here, obviously we just see this as a potato, right? It was just a red potato with nothing really to it. All right, but now look, we've made this beautiful little 7-sided football shape out of the potato. And I respected this potato, so it worked with me, and it made a nice 7-sided tournée potato. But that's one of our main things, is that not only do you want to look polished, not only do you want to, act the part, play the part, and be the chef, or you want to be the head person of your restaurant or of somebody else's restaurant cooking your own menu, you kind of have to respect everybody else around you before you get to that point. And that's a big part of professionalism in the kitchen, is making sure that you understand what we call the brigade system, which would be your executive chef, your sous chef, your lead line, all those people who came before you. Respecting your ingredients, respecting your equipment, and respecting your peers are the highest on your list for being professional in our kitchens. So that's what I have for you guys: some tournées, some juliennes, and some brunoise.
Okay, you can mute.
Thank you, Chef Marchetti.
Thank you so much, Chef Marchetti, for your demonstration there and your words. All right.
Hey, Jessica, we actually do have a question that just came in, and it's funny because I was curious about this myself. When you're looking at trying to reduce waste in the kitchen, Haven had asked, what do you do with the extra bits of potatoes?
So Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself here again so that Chef Marchetti can answer.
You unmuted me. I'm sorry.
There you go. Now you're unmuted.
Typically what we would do is we would peel these potatoes first. We would discard the skins. And then all these pieces that are left over, we would use in a mash or a smashed potato, or you could even use them in a duchesse potato, which is a whipped potato that is kind of helped bound together by eggs. So that's how we would reduce the waste. Most of the time when you do a julienne or something like this, there's not too much waste. Obviously, these little scraps that I have here, anything that isn't a starchy scrap like a potato can be used in a stock. So you can make your chicken stock or your beef or veal stock or your vegetable stock with any scraps like this left over. If you have other vegetables that you don't typically put into like a beef or a meat stock, you can use that for a vegetable stock. So we're always using our scraps.
All right. Any other questions on where we're at right now, professionalism, or anything you've heard so far?
Nope, that was the only question that came in so far.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thanks again, Nicole. Okay, so what are some skills that we can learn when we're working in the industry? So besides the obvious, things like knife skills, things like professionalism in the kitchen, some of the other things that we can learn in the industry that go beyond the restaurant industry are going to be things like teamwork, things like time management. If you think about how when you sit down at a restaurant and you order a dish, you go through that whole process of ordering your dish, they make the food, they bring it out to you, they bring your check. In between there's lots of other things that need to happen between you placing that order with your server and the server getting the order to the chef. So everything has to be timed so that your food comes out all at the same time. So if we have a dish that we're making a dish, we have 4 dishes on the table and we need to have, one's gonna take 5 minutes, one's gonna take 8 minutes, one's gonna take 10 minutes. We can produce all of those dishes in 10 minutes and not take 20 minutes for everything because we're doing things one at a time. So time management is a big thing that we learn in the restaurant industry. How do we work under pressure? Our industry is all about pressure. So we're constantly on those tight deadlines and turning things around and getting things out quickly. So we're always working under that pressure. Multitasking, patience, attention to detail, communication is so crucial in our industry. It's so crucial with working with each other in the kitchen. Like I said about making those 3 dishes, I'm not, as one chef on that line, I'm not the only one making parts and components to this dish. One person will be working on the vegetable. One person will be working on the starch. One person will be working on meats. One person may be on the grill or on seafood. So there's lots of different parts and components that are going to be, that need to come together in order to work and complete this dish. Flexibility. Not everything is going to go the way that we wanted to. When Chef Marchetti was doing her demo there, you saw a great example of flexibility. We peeled that potato. Underneath that skin, we don't know what that potato is going to look like until we start taking and cutting away from it. So once we get it open and you see that it's got little parts and pieces that are not right, if that's all I have, then I've got some issues. But we can move things around, we can look around, and we can adjust things as we need them in order to get the final product done. So we need to be able to be flexible in this industry. Customer service and great work ethic. Customer service, can go across so many different industries. Most of these can go across many, many different industries. So even as a teenager or a young adult working in the restaurant industry, even if it's not something that you want to do for the rest of your life, you're going to learn skills that you can translate into any other field. So a lot of great leaders started out working in restaurant industry. So so I want to talk a little bit about our pastry program. I'm going to start out with pastry here. In our pastry program here, we do everything from basic skills through plated desserts, sugar and chocolate work, to bread baking. So we've got a wide range of things that you'll learn in the pastry program. And I want to introduce you to Chef Daria Ostrino, and she is going to do a little cake demonstration here for you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daria.
Hang on,
Ostrino.
can't hear you.
Oh, Jesse, I could hear her. She was coming through.
Where are we?
How is it now?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So my name is Daria.
Try again.
I am a pastry arts instructor, as Chef Jesse just introduced. A little bit about my background. I went to high school and I also had 3 years of a pastry class. I learned so much within those short 3 years, but it really gave me the inspiration and knowledge that this is the career path that I wanted to do. So after I graduated high school, I went to the Culinary Institute of America, and I was there for about 2.5 years or so and learned all that I could. And then I went to move on to my first job in the industry and worked at the Hotel Hershey. As Chef Tuno had talked about, you start out at the bottom. So I was an entry-level pastry cook, and I did that for several years. I worked my way up to a lead pastry cook, and I was actually able to take some of our externs that would come in, specifically from CIA, Johnson & Wales, YTI also, and we got to train them on the job. And a little bit while I'm talking, I'm going to shift my screen down so you guys can see me working on the cake. So when I was training on the job, it did give me the knowledge of how to actually teach while still working in the industry. And I loved the passion that I would see from our students coming in. So after I had worked my way up at the hotel, I wound up becoming an executive pastry chef at a local restaurant that had opened. It was about 300 seats. Plus, we sometimes would have outdoor seating. It was a lot that would happen. So you definitely have to be organized when you're in the industry. You always want to make sure you're planning several steps ahead, several days ahead, if not even weeks, with what you might be needing to work on. If you have catering events coming up, you always want to make sure that you have all of the food ordered for what you might need. You want to make sure that you're able to produce all the count items. We would sometimes have functions that would happen that were 150 plus people. So you want to make sure that you are consistent in all that you're making. Sometimes we would build things in sheet pans and we would cut them into individual pieces. Sometimes you are just making individual small desserts. So there are plenty of things out there that you can use in the pastry field. Some might seem a little bit odd, but sometimes we use PVC pipes. We can use different tools. To ice my cake, I like to use something that looks like a spackling tool. So you might see this at Home Depot or Lowe's. There's lots of different tools that you can use to the best of your ability. And then when we're making different style of cakes, you want to make sure that you are making them structurally sound. So you want to be able to know how do you need to make the internal base of it to be able to support it if you need to travel with it at any point. So sometimes you might have to actually build a structure using wooden dowels. Sometimes you might even need to weld things. So it all depends on what you're doing. Today, I'm just making a very simple cake. This is vanilla cake. It's soaked with an Irish cream syrup. And then I have it filled with a milk chocolate ganache inside. And we know St. Patrick's Day is coming up soon. So what I've done is I made a rainbow that you can see here in the background. This is sugar. So momentarily, I'm just gonna finish my top. So I'd like to write on this cake, and I'm gonna write Happy St. Patrick's Day. So now that I've done my bottom border, I'm actually going to take it off of my turntable because I find it easier to have it lower than my body to be able to write on that. So I'm just going to get some of my chocolate here. Getting back to some of the things in the industry, as Chef Tuno had said, a lot of the pastry world and industry is more of that very, very early morning. So you want to make sure that you are resting when needed, trying to get your body into a cycle. So if you're starting work at maybe 3 a.m., you need to maybe get yourself awake by about 1 a.m., give yourself enough time. Sometimes if you are working in the restaurant industry, you might be more of that late night shift where you're actually plating desserts to order. So you want to make sure that you are, again, adjusting your body as best as you can for that. So right now, all I have is a little piping parchment paper bag, and I'm going to write Happy St. Patrick's Day. And this is just melted chocolate chips. I put a little bit of just vegetable oil in it because I do find that the flow of that is a bit more helpful. So after I write this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then pick my sugar up, and I'm going to make sure that I line it up where I want it to go. I have already pre-made a hole where I need my supports to go. So for my supports of my sugar, what I've done is I've heated it up, and I have put some tongue depressors actually on the bottom of it. So when you heat the sugar, you can normally adhere the wood to the surface of the sugar. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit more room. So it is very, very delicate. You want to make sure that you are being very gentle with it. There's always that chance that sugar may crack. So, you know, there's always kind of a backup plan or 3 whenever you're working with sugar. So I'm really gently going to just pick this up, and I'm going to slide that into the cake, being really gentle. And again, this is just something you have to have a lot of patience with. You want to make sure you're understanding and feeling that product as best as you can. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of buttercream down at the bottom here. And that's going to help my bottom surface hold up a bit. So I'm going to make this look like little clouds. And I'm just pressure piping, very similar to how I did the bottom border. This is just a technique that you would learn in Cake Decoration 1. We have a lot of different cake classes that kind of go into a lot of different techniques. This being one of them. The more advanced techniques would get into gum paste and fondant work. And like I said, this is just a buttercream cake. The sugar work you will get in your 3rd term of pastry arts, and you would be able to learn all different techniques with both granulated sugar. This is a term called isomalt. It is a sugar-free option, so you can use it if you needed any sort of sugar-free baking. It is a lot more expensive than sugar, just regular granulated sugar. So you do want to be cautious that you're using the product for all that you need. But as you can see, you can get it very nice and clear. It is a really nice application for any sort of sugar showpieces that you might be doing. And then last but not least, this is a little tiny pot of gold, as we call it. So internally, when you make little tiny structures like this, you have aluminum foil that you can use as your internal support. None of this is edible, and it's just for decor. So you always want to make sure that you explain that to any customers that you might have. So I've wrapped black fondant around it, made a little handle, and I'm just going to sit that in front of my rainbow. And these are things that you can find at pretty much any craft store at this point. We call them dragées as the fancy French term, but they are little round tiny sprinkles. They come in all different colors. So for something like we're doing for this theme today, it works out perfectly for that pot of gold that you might want to have. So that is our finished cake, and I can pull the computer a little bit closer.
Oh my word, it turned out so cute. So
Thank
cute.
you.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Daria, for your time this morning and your really cool techniques with sugar and the cakes. So I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. Chef Daria is also, she is celiac, as is Chef Marchetti. They are both need to be gluten-free with everything. So I'm sure it's, you can understand how challenging it might be to be in the pastry arts field or in culinary and have to really watch every ingredient that goes into your food. But, you know, it's something that we as chefs, we really learn and figure out how to adjust in those kinds of, in our settings when we're doing this. And especially in that pastry field where we're trying to figure things out and make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe, but we also have a better understanding for our guests as well. Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna have to move down there. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the culinary programs. With culinary, we do everything from basic skills, which we are learning. We're learning sauces and stock making. We learn the basic knife skills, as you saw with Chef Marchetti today. And we go through doing meat fabrication, where we're breaking down meats. We're doing sausage and cheese making, vegetable and egg production, regional cooking, introduction. We do an intro to baking class where we are where we're learning the fundamentals of baking. And as sometimes in a culinary industry, we may not have a pastry chef in-house. So we may have to end up doing the dinner rolls and the basic desserts. So we do an introduction class where we're learning those things as well, all the way up to advanced culinary techniques. And we also learn restaurant management in this area. So we are doing we learn the skills that we need to run our own restaurants, to do the front of house, training front of house staff, wine and bar. So we have a lot of different areas that we're learning and teaching here at YTI. So I have one of our students, Abigail Brown, joining us today. She is finishing up in her 6th term with us, and she's getting ready to go out on externship. So I wanted her to join us today just to give you a student perspective of what she's expecting, what she's anticipating when she goes out into the industry. She is in 4 weeks, she'll be heading out on externship. She's heading down to North Carolina to do her externship experience, where she'll be staying there on at a golf resort, working in the industry there and getting her hands-on experience. So welcome, Abigail. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Chef. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about what brought you to culinary school to begin with.
Well, cooking has always been a passion for me. I've been doing it since 5 years old. It was definitely a new experience going into the program, me being from the Caribbean. So most of my cooking techniques and style was home taught, using Caribbean-based flavors, very bold. When I decided to go forth and pursue my culinary degree, I did some research on different programs offered around the area. And I must say, and I've said it many times to everybody that asks me about the program, the welcome committee and the orientation committee at YTI is my favorite. When I came in just to get some information on what exactly am I to expect if I were to pursue the program there. And Mr. Johnson, Mark Johnson, was the gentleman I ended up meeting. And when he took me through the program, I knew right then and there I wanted to be nowhere else. The team was so friendly. Everyone was so professional. I felt like I could walk down the corridor and stop any chef that I met and ask any question, no matter how silly or how dumb it might have seemed to me. And you're proof to that, chef, because I've bothered you many times over. So definitely just the atmosphere at YTI, I have not regretted going or choosing YTI for my degree program because of the staff that works there. It is a phenomenal team. I love my chefs. I feel like I've learned so much and still feel like even after I leave the program, I could still email you at 2:00 in the morning and be like, hey, chef, I'm having an issue. So that was definitely my thumbs up on that department.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. What else? So after you're finished with school, what are your goals? What do you want to do after you're done with school?
After school, I plan to work the field for 3 to 5 years, soak up as much as I possibly can. I want to learn as in every department, every field, every aspect of the restaurant industry. After that point, I plan on hopefully opening my own business, not just a restaurant, but I want to use the skills that I've learned for the kitchen as well as for restaurant management and open my own bed and breakfast. I want to do a bed and breakfast concept where I can do both catering and hopefully in the future build that up to the point that I can host weddings, cater to them, and offer my clients and customers the whole 9 yards, from making the menu, doing the meals, baking the cakes, providing the atmosphere, all of that. So that is the long-term plan as far as what to do after school.
Very nice. And for the students that are on with us today, what's your advice for if they are interested in the restaurant or pastry industries?
Be open-minded, be willing to learn, willing to make mistakes, take risks, always ask questions. There is no question out there that could possibly be dumb or stupid, no matter how silly it might seem to you. Your thought process is going in a direction and you might need some help getting there, and our chefs will gladly guide you there. So always have an open mind. It's a learning experience. Yes, if you are coming in with minor skills that you know, kudos. If you're not, that's okay too. You're learning, your chefs are learning from you as well. My chefs tell me that all the time. They learn from you and you learn from them. So definitely keep an open mind if you do decide to go into this program.
Good, good. All right. Thank you so much for taking your time out. I know you're probably on a break, so I appreciate you taking your time to join us, okay?
Thank you, Chef. Have a good
Thank
day.
you. You too.
Bye, guys.
All right. So up next, what I'd like to do is have Chef Renfro, our culinary instructor. I'd like to have him jump in here. He is going to do a little demo for us as well. He is going to make some dumplings for us. Oh, it is very dark over there.
Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, you're
Okay.
unmuted.
So today I'm going to be producing dumplings. These are also known on various regions by different names. The one I'm going to prepare today is known as gyoza, which is a Japanese dumpling. There are various names, again, as I was saying, that they go by. Mandu, which is a Korean style. We also have the xiaolongbao, which are soup dumplings, which they're filled with a gelatinous stock, a little bit of protein. That could be pork, which is predominantly what is used, chicken, or it could be some form of vegetarian filling as well. What I have here in front of me is, if we pull the screen down a little bit, I have what is called mise en place. This is what I'm going to be using to prepare the dumplings. Today I'm going to be using pork, a little bit of pork fat, Napa cabbage, and then we have our basic seasoning blend, which is comprised of soy sauce, a little bit of garlic chili oil, and a little bit of sesame oil. Our predominant flavor profile that we like to enhance the seasoning with, we add a little bit of ginger as well as garlic. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to start getting my filling components ready here. And I have some peeled garlic, and I'm basically going to crush these a little bit, and I'm going to mince this into a paste. And you don't really need a really fine paste, as this will be combined with your protein, the pork that I'm going to be utilizing. And to get my paste, I'm going to add a little bit of salt, which is going to help us season our meat and also break this down into our paste. And classically, I like to use a kosher salt, which is predominantly found in the kitchens. I kind of stay away from iodized salts or any of our finishing salts, such as flake salts, fleur-de-lis, any of that. Put a pinch of salt on there. I'm going to draw this back, and I'm gently going to use the back of my knife to crush this into a nice fine paste. Okay? At that point, I'm going to add it in my container here. Made a little mess. So, my protein. What I have here, I have ground beef, or I'm sorry, ground pork. This is a leaner pork that we have. Also, what we have is some ground pork fat. That's going to give us some moisture contents when I put these into the dumplings. So I'm going to add in my meat. I'm going to add a portion of my fat. We're looking about 75-25 on fat to meat mass. And what we want to do is we want to give this a really good churn. I'm going to add in my garlic that I had as part of our seasoning. Our seasoning components, we have a little bit of sesame oil. A little goes a long way. I'm probably going to only add about a half a teaspoon to that. The chili oil is basically your preference for heat. I like my stuff a little bit spicy. I think it gives a little bit more flavor. So I have a little bit of that chili paste, and also soy sauce. Soy sauce we want to be careful with, as it has a lot of salt content, sodium. So we don't want to over season our product. And the last thing I'm going to do for our wet ingredients is add just a touch of Chinese black vinegar. Okay. I have a little bit of salt and pepper mixture over here, so I'll just kind of lightly season this. And one thing that I like to add to my component is ginger. Okay. I'm just going to use a microplane. This is something that you would typically use in a restaurant. This is going to make a very, very fine paste on this. And I'm probably going to put about a teaspoon inside of this to flavor it. Okay. And also it's going to help release the natural oils. Now, one thing that we want to add in here as well, get my border a little bit. Garlic in here. I have some scallion or green onion. And for this, I just want to chop this up so it is in a small, manageable, bite-sized piece. That way it's not going to have overly large pieces in the dumpling. And you'll notice I'm kind of using a claw hand when I'm cutting, so I'm not going to cut my fingers. My fingers are not going in front of the blade. And on this, I'm using both the white and the green portion of the scallion. If you don't like this, you can omit it. You certainly could use shallots if you like shallots to put in there. Okay, so I'm going to add in my green scallion. Next, I'm going to add in some of our roughage for our vegetable. This is a little bit of Napa cabbage, typically found in your Asian stores. And this, I'm not really looking for huge chunks, so I'm doing a very, very fine slice. And I'll give this a quick mince with the knife, so that way we don't have large chunks in here. This is a nice dish to prepare, as you can make these ahead of time and freeze them. So it's really, really nice on this. And again, I'm just giving this a really basic rough chop. Okay. So this I'm going to add into my meat. I'm going to take this and thoroughly mix my component. Now, when we mix this, and I'm going to make my life easier right now, put on a glove so I can get in here and work this with my hand. Best tool you have in the kitchen is your hand. Okay, so as I'm mixing this, I'm looking for the protein to break down slightly, and it's going to become a little bit sticky. Now, if you had smell-o-vision right now, you'd be able to smell the seasonings that I have in here, the sesame oil, the soy sauce, the chili oil. It smells very, very good. And this dish, if you make this at home, all the components you can find very readily at your grocery stores, even to include the wrappers for the dumplings I'm going to be making. Now, the meat, as you can see, it's been thoroughly mixed. It's a little bit sticky, okay? So I'm going to pull that back now. I'm going to remove my glove. And what I want to do is I'm going to do my station here real quick. Now, one thing as you work in the kitchens, you always want to make sure your stations are clean, okay? Now, the component we're going to be wrapping these in. These can be purchased at the grocery store. It's nothing more than a dumpling wrapper, and it's all it is water and flour, all-purpose flour. So there's nothing more simple than this. You can basically make this into a very pliable dough. Let these relax or rest for about half an hour, and then you just take a small rolling pin, roll these out, and produce your dumplings. So when we go to fill these, the important thing on this is not overfilling the dumpling, not underfilling the dumpling. We try to get about 1.5 teaspoons of filling in the center here. We don't want to have too much, because if it's too much, it'll kind of push out to either side. And if it's not enough, our dumpling is going to be improperly filled, and your guest is not going to have quite the experience of eating this dumpling. So we're looking for something that's going to have a lot of moisture content. That's where our fat comes in. That's also where your seasonings, that being your liquid seasonings, your soy sauce, your sesame, your chili oils, that's going to provide some moisture to it as well. So as I come in here, I'm going to get a good teaspoon of product, put that right in the center. And then to seal this, I'm just going to take a little bit of water and go around the outside edge. I want to moisten that. You don't need to get it super wet, just enough so it will kind of adhere to the edges. Think of this as a taco. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to gently press it down on the filling. I'm going to pinch the top, and what I'm going to do is pleat this. I'm going to pinch and move this back and forth. So typically I'll get about 7 or 8 pleats on this when I'm finished. I come over here, give it a nice little shape, and we end up with a nice finished dumpling. These typically, when you make them for your family and friends, depending on how you like these, you can eat probably 10, 14, 15 of these at a shot, at least I can. But if you're in a restaurant, you're going to typically serve these about 6 to 7 per order. And these are nice to prepare. As I say, they're very versatile because you can make these vegetarian friendly, vegan friendly, or if someone has a preference of a protein you like, I keep referring to meat as protein, that's what we refer to it as. You can do chicken, you can do pork, you can do beef, shrimp. Actually, this, I'm doing straight up pork. You can do a variation on this with shrimp and pork. That's a very, very classic combination as well. But with your clientele base, you might find that some people have seafood allergies. So that's, again, where you want to have that option to allow your guests to choose. And if you're in a very, very busy restaurant and you're doing these, you might prepare up to 1,500 of these in a day's time. But once you get the knack of it, you can roll these out very, very quickly, fill them, and like I said, flash freeze them for service, and then you just pull them out, and you can cook these from the frozen state. So that's one thing that is nice. And we're going to use a 2-part cooking method for this. We're going to start off with a dry heat. I'm going to take a nonstick pan, and I'm going to add just a touch of vegetable oil. I don't want to use olive oil. I don't want to use sesame oil. Olive oil and sesame oil have low smoke points, and we're not looking to impart any flavor. We just want to crisp the base of these to get some caramelization on the bottom of the skins. So with our pans, and you can do this in a wok. If you have a wok at home, you can do it in a wok as well. Okay, so on my cook, I'm going to use a 6-inch little cooker. I'm going to move my thing over, excuse me. All right, so now I have my saute pan. Now, since we're working on a commercial range, this is going to take a lot less time than if you're doing this at home. So basically what we want to do, we want to get our burner started, and we want to go on about a medium heat, not high on this range at all. If I stuck this on high, it would actually burn the base. Okay, so we're going to take about 1.5 teaspoons of oil. We just want the base of the pan lightly coated, and you kind of see I've got it kind of running around the pan. I'm going to let this preheat for about a minute, minute and a half. While what that's doing is it's allowing my oil to come up to temp. It's tempering. We're getting my pan to the point where I want the heat, and then I'm slowly going to add in my dumplings. And the big thing with this is we want to make sure that we have a lid, okay? So that's going to help us retain the steam when we add our water in here. So like I said, we're doing 2 parts. We're going to basically take this oil, do a very, very quick saute, or you could almost call it a browning of the dumpling skin. And I have one that I cooked off earlier. Basically, we're looking to get a little caramelization on the bottom of the dumpling. And once we get to that point, we're going to add in about 1/4 cup of water to steam and to finish the cooking process. Now, like I said, we went from a uncooked interior on the protein. We don't have to cook the meat prior to. That all gets finished while it's in the saute pan here. So at this point, I'm going to add in my dumplings, and you don't have to add them in any specific way. I just usually take mine and kind of, I don't know, well, they fell. I put them in like a spiral pattern. And I'm going to let these get some color on them. And like I said, that's going to take about 2 minutes or so. And I'm going to turn my heat up just a touch. If at any point while you're cooking this, if you see wisps of smoke coming off your pan, that's telling you that your pan is too hot. And what's going to happen is you're going to really, really burn the bottom of your pan or your dumplings. So we want to kind of stay away from that aspect as well. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, actually, we did have a couple. I didn't want to interrupt and possibly have anything get burned or overdone. But someone asked, what would you do if someone's allergic to sesame seeds? I don't know if that was that something you would just omit from the preparation?
I couldn't hear the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was what would you do if someone is allergic to sesame seeds?
If someone was allergic to sesame seeds, you just omit it. And that's where it's very important. When we have the front of the house, as Chef Tuna was talking about, being trained, each night before a service, what would happen is, if, let's say I was running this as a nightly special, I would come out to the front of the house, talk with the service staff, and explain to them what went into this preparation with the sesame oil, peanuts, whatever it may be. So at that point, they can address it to their guests and let them know that, yes, in this preparation, there is peanuts, sesame oil, whatever it may be. It's also very good right now in these times for a server to ask the table, does anybody have any food allergies? Because if I'm looking at this and it says gyoza Asian dumplings, but they don't give a description, now you guys can see I'm getting a nice color on the bottom of these. So at this point, what I'm going to do, sorry I'm stepping away, is I'm going to add my water. Starting to boil, put the lid on and turn the heat down. I'm not looking to have this at a full running boil. These will take approximately 6 minutes to cook, and then once you're done, you put them up for service. As you know, going back to your question about the sesame oil, stuff like that, it's very easy with this type of dish to have variations. So you could have one with pork, one without seafood, one vegetarian, and just know your clientele base. Or if they said, hey, I'm allergic to this, could you not make this a la menu, like at the last minute? If the chef has everything meased out, basically all of his ingredients ready to go, sure, he could do that. But other than that, typically, A lot of times the restaurant has to inform its clientele or its customers what they have put into the production of their food, so that way they don't get anybody sick. Any other questions?
Yeah, we had a couple. There was one. One wanted to know if you'd be willing to give him the dumpling recipe at some point.
Sure. I'm gonna be very honest. I don't use a recipe per se. I've made these so much, I kind of go by instinct. But yes, if you can give me an email, I can actually type one up and send it to them.
Great.
Or if they have something to write with, I can give it to them right now if they like.
That's no problem. Yeah, what I can do, I have everyone's email that's on this, so if you or Jesse can email it to me, I can send it out. I appreciate that. That's we don't get that question very often. That was a new one, but that was good.
This is, like I said, this is something that you could basically walk out from this meeting today, go to Giant, and find every single thing that I've created here, and basically in the Asian aisle. So, and it's fun if you have family over. This is a fun activity. You know, you sit down. I typically during the holidays also sit down and make 300 dumplings in a night.
Oh wow!
And then freeze them and give them out to Chef Tuno.
Someone had asked if you mess up on a dish, does the whole dish get thrown away? So how would you handle that? Because obviously when they're learning, they're going to make some mistakes. What happens at that point?
Okay, so if we're in-house in school and you're making a dish and something happens, what we do is it's called constructive criticism, basically, or feedback. We look at the dish, we find out what the mistake was, and we kind of backtrack. How did we get to that mistake? Did we over-season something? Did we under-season something? Was the temperature up too high, too low? Could be a myriad of things. But we don't have them just throw it in the garbage can and go, oh, I messed that up, chef. I can't turn my stuff in. We kind of like say, bring it up here, let's look at it, and use it as a learning example for the whole class. Because everyone, as Abigail was saying earlier, you will make mistakes while you're here at school, and that's to be expected. You'll make mistakes out in the industry as well. So it's not something that the chef is going to expect you to be perfect all the time. Like I said, you will make mistakes, and that's just part of the industry and part of life itself. Okay, so now my dumplings are done, kind of juicy. And I'm gonna pull this off. And I'm gonna do a little bit of TV switch out. So basically what I have here, I don't know if you can see that, it's for a presentation. Maybe that's a little bit better look. Served in a nice little lacquered box. Have your straw mat on there with your gyoza, nice little dipping sauce, which can consist of a little bit of soy, mirin, ginger, and chopped up scallion put inside there. And again, like I said, when you're making these at home, they typically will take you 10 minutes start to finish once you have all your mise en place in place. Any other questions?
Great. Jesse's been answering a few here on text. I just want to make sure everyone saw them. Someone had asked, are you able to learn all these classes at one time, or are you allowed to learn one? And the answer to that was, at this point, courses are all in each of the individual programs. So you wouldn't be able to take, I guess that means you wouldn't be able to take culinary and pastry at the same time. Someone also asked in the class that you're allowed to taste the food, and the answer to that was yes, you get to taste all the dishes that you make, and some you even get to take home at certain times. So I want to make sure everyone saw that, because those are two important questions. I was always jealous when I used to work at YTI in the York campus, and we didn't have the culinary program there. So all I would get was free they would do blood draws on me. That wasn't that fun. So another one I think that was asked, someone, this is very specific to the dumpling recipe. In the dumplings, would kimchi also work in the filling, or would it get too mushy?
No, actually, that is one of my favorite. That's a mandu style dumpling that has kimchi pork inside of it. And yes, those turn out fabulous. Basically, what you have to do is just drain your kimchi to get some of that fermentation juice off of it. Chop that up, add it in with your pork or your chicken, whatever you want to do, and it works perfectly fine. And basically that's just a fermented cabbage. So basically the fresh cabbage I put in there, the kimchi works in place of that, and it adds a little bit more of a, how shall I say it, piquant flavor to it. You can get kimchi that's very spicy. It does have a sour aspect, some people will say, but I love it. That's actually, again, one of my favorites to do is kimchi and pork dumplings.
Great, thank you. I think that's all for the question and answer. And I know I'm going to be eating lunch early today. I'm just going to say that right off the bat.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So no other questions for me? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Chef Renfro. We appreciate you being here today and taking care of the demo and just giving us some of your background and knowledge there. So we appreciate it. All right, so I just have just a couple more things here. I know that some of the questions that we get asked a lot are, what are my other options? If I don't want to work in a restaurant setting, what else can I do? So there's so many different options than just working in a restaurant kitchen. You know, as or in a bakery. So after you have experience, after you've worked in the industry for a while, you know, we do tend to burn out. It's always a fast-paced, go, go, go kind of environment when we're in the middle of it. So lots of different options here, everything from private to personal chefs. You know, we have students that come in, they want to do a food truck, they want to do a pop-up. You know, there's lots of different options there for working for yourself. We can do catering or special events, corporate dining. Think places like schools or retirement communities, golf courses, that specialized catering or institution cooking, where it's not necessarily in the restaurant and cooking to order. It may be for really large events. It could be very specialized cooking. Teaching, like what we do here, we all really love. We have over 120 years of experience between all of us. So most of us have been in this industry for the majority of our lives. At least half of our lives or more, we've been in this industry. So research and development. We have one of our pastry instructors that came from a research and development background. Food styling, photo shoots, magazines. You'll see for doing photo shoots for magazines, a lot of those industries require a culinary background or a culinary degree to get into food styling and photo shoots. You can do specialty. You know, right now the big thing is keto. You know, we're seeing a lot of keto meals, keto desserts, keto snacks, all of that, those gluten-free or low-carb options. Purchasing, working for a company such as Cisco or US Foods or Performance Group, those sales reps have the restaurant background. They know inside and out what works in a kitchen, what kinds of things that they can recommend for chefs in a restaurant, how they can use that product, what they can substitute that product with. Wine and bar, mixology, that whole background of mixology is based on taste and understanding how to balance flavors, how to add a sour note without acid. You know, how do we balance these things out? And all of that pertains to a culinary or a culinary background. TV and digital food shows, food blogging. We're seeing a lot of that right now, especially with pandemic and everybody was home, you know, making stuff in their own kitchens. So food blogging, sales, marketing, public relations, policies, food safety inspectors, knowing what to look for when you go out and into a restaurant from the other side of it. Homeless shelters, nonprofits, VA or the VFW, places like that, that we can go into. And one of the last ones, association work, the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association, ACF being our American Culinary Federation, or the NRA, the National Restaurant Association. All different options that we can go. So it's not just limited to restaurants or bakeries or working for yourself. There's lots and lots of different places that we can go and take our skills in different settings and make it work for us, make our backgrounds and our culinary or pastry backgrounds work for us. So that's all I have for you guys today. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to take some time, answer any questions you may have about our program or the industry, both culinary or pastry.
I'm not seeing any questions come in. I know there was a bunch that were being asked during the demos, which was great. So, you know, some very specific to the recipes, some specific to the program and the study. So that was great.
Yeah.
I would just say, if anyone does happen to, because sometimes I think of a question like, you know, an hour later or later on in the day, and I think, oh, I should have asked that. Well, feel free to, if you don't have my email, I'll just throw it here in the chat. It's info@ycal.us. If you think of it, you can ask it, and I'll relay it, and I'll get you the answer. So don't worry. If you think about it later, we'll still get it addressed. And I had also a little bit further up in the chat, I had just put in the website for YTI's program, just so if you do have any questions about specific classes or admissions requirements, anything like that, that's very specific, you can check out their website and hopefully get in touch with someone or get the information right off their website.
Yep.
So, well, hold on, I knew it. One more question came in. That's great. If I would, Kylie's asking, if I would want to open my own business, would I want to go to culinary or to business school first?
So with our culinary program, we have all of the restaurant management program or restaurant management classes built within our program. So you'll have a background on purchasing, on food and beverage management. You'll have a class on how to analyze all of the data that we're getting when we're selling food. You'll have a class on layout and design, on how to build your restaurant from the ground up. So the culinary program here, we do have all of that information built into the program. So you wouldn't necessarily need a business management or business program along with it. So we do have we have many students that have gone on to open their own restaurants after culinary school. So.
Great. That was a great question. Thank you. That's
yes, great question.
I learned something new on that one, so appreciate that. Well, seeing no other questions come in, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it. Take two. The weather's great today. No snow. You know, we certainly didn't want to lose that demo aspect last time because of the snow. So I'm really glad we're able to do it today. And
yes.
Hope everyone learned a little bit of something. And again, if you think of any questions, just email that info@ycal.us and we'll get them answered. So thank you so much. Again, as I said before, I'm going to go get an early lunch now because I'm really hungry after watching all that. It's really good. I think I'm go get some dumplings somewhere. So everyone have a great day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.